In today's video, I'm talking about tripods and the tricks I use with them to get great results in my macro photography. Now, I've had a lot of people recently commenting on my videos asking about the tripods that I use. In particular, this little guy, this one right here. Now, this is a great portable little tripod that, because it's so small and goes so wide, is great for getting really low down shots. So what actually is this tripod? Well, it is a bit of a mongrel, if I'm honest. The base is just a fairly cheap Smallrig mobile tripod, exactly the sort of thing that you would use maybe with your smartphone or with a really, really small camera or something like a GoPro. But because it was designed more for mobile photography, it came with a very, very basic ball head on top, which was fairly weak and wouldn't really stand up to the weight of big cameras. But that ball head was removable, so I was able to swap it out for one of my own Gitzo ball heads. Now, this ball head was very expensive by itself, but it is a lot more sturdy, a lot more secure, and means that I can actually put on my full-size camera without any worry about it slipping. I mean, look. Sturdy. Very, very sturdy. So I end up using this tripod quite a bit. Reason being is that it is so small and light that I can just throw it in a bag and I've always got it with me. But to be honest, I tend to use it more for filming video rather than for stills. Every so often, like in my last video, I will use it to get low down still shots, but for the most part, it's great as a vlogging camera. You know, the sort of thing when you would hold it up and I would talk at the camera like this, instead of talking down the lens like this. But if you're currently looking around for just one tripod to cover every macro or photography situation you're likely to come across, this is not the best answer. Instead, this is the tripod that I actually use most often. Now, this is the Gitzo Legende tripod, and it does come with quite a high price, so I am not necessarily suggesting that you rush out right now and go and buy this tripod. And you don't have to, because a lot of the features that I really like about this tripod are shared on other tripods, including ones with lower prices. But yes, for the most part, when I go out doing macro or any kind of photography really, I tend to rely on a full-size tripod rather than a little one like this. But I know what you're thinking. This one cannot go down as low as this. Surely we've got this big central column here. So if we just extend out these legs, splay them wide, look, it can't go down because of that central column. So because of the central column, this is as low down as you can get. It's a lot higher up than our little miniature mobile one over here. But that's where you need to get a little bit sneaky. Option A is to get a tripod that allows you to remove the central column like you can here. So with this Gitzo tripod, what I'm able to do is unscrew this top bit, remove this middle bit, remove the central column, and put this middle bit on this little extension. And then we just pop that back in, and all of a sudden we've got a tripod with no central column. So now we can splay those legs much wider and get our camera really low to the ground. It's pretty much the same height as the mobile one, but this one is a full-size tripod, and because those legs are spread out nice and wide, it means you've got an even more stable platform to be shooting on, which is particularly important if you're doing multi-second exposures. And it's this technique that I use when I'm shooting most of my macro photography. I can get the camera down really low, but I can still just keep the central column in my backpack in case I want to pop it back in and get a bit more height. Now, being able to remove the central column isn't something you can do on every single tripod out there, but I do know that quite a few brands do offer that, including most of Gitzo's range and also some three-legged thing models, just like this one here. So if it is something that you're specifically wanting to do, just double check that the tripod you're looking at buying does let you do that. But the second way of doing that is even sneakier, and you can do it on pretty much every tripod as far as I know. Let's just put this central column back in then, shall we? So now we've got our standard tripod with the central column in. So now we can't get it as low as these other tripods. Or can we? Well, with most tripods, you can simply take out the central column, unscrew a little connectory bit down here, and then simply put it back in upside down, just like this. So once we tighten everything up, you can now see that we've got our camera secured on a tripod, all nice and stable, but the camera is at ground level. It is exactly at the same level as the feet of the tripod itself. So actually with this technique, we've got it even lower than the removing the central column option, even lower than our mobile tripod has been able to get. I'm pretty sure that most tripods do allow you to do this. Certainly all of the ones that I've got do allow you to just flip the column in this way. Certainly the three-legged things one do, the Gitzo ones do, my Manfrotto ones do. All of them seem to be able to. And again, if that's something you really want to do, then just double check when you buy a new tripod that it does have that function. But it's interesting because a lot of people don't realize that their tripods can do this. So instead they look to dedicated macro tripods that allow the legs to spread out really wide and get the camera low to the ground. But if you use this technique, then you can get your camera on the ground, but still on the tripod. It's dead simple. Of course, the downside is that your camera is positioned upside down and very close to the ground, so it does actually make using it, changing your settings and seeing what your composition is a little bit more awkward. So of course, you will have to rely on the live view, and if you've got a camera with a flip out screen that you can articulate and move around, then that will make things even easier. I don't on the 5D4, that is fixed, so I just have to crane my neck and try and do my best. And of course, if you can change the settings on that LCD screen as well, then that makes things much easier than trying to get your hands under the camera and change the settings using the buttons. But the benefit of using this technique is that you do still have a full-size tripod with you. And of course, not every photo that you find is going to be at ground level. Not every macro photo ever taken is of something on the floor. It might be something on a tree at eye level or on a bush somewhere, and you're going to need a full-size tripod to get that height and get your camera on it. So if you went out with only a little mobile tripod like this, then you're kind of out of options, whereas at least using this way, you've got the ability to go low to the ground, but you can then convert it back and have a full-size tripod as well. But of course, you could buy both because you can just buy this little thing. It is very, very cheap off Amazon, and you can just pull the tripod head off any of your existing tripods and pop it onto this one. And that's exactly what I do because, as I say, sometimes I want to use this out of quickness or for video, but I still want to make sure that I've got my full-size tripod with me as well. So for those of you asking what tripods I use and which ones I would recommend most for macro photography, my answer isn't really a specific model or a specific brand. It is any tripod that either allows you to remove a central column or to invert it so you can shoot with your camera at ground level. This is the thing that's going to be most helpful for you getting those low down shots, but it does still give you the ability to use it as a full-size tripod for any other shots you want to get. Carry one of these as well, why not? Because it weighs almost nothing, so you won't notice it in your backpack. But I wouldn't advise you take this out that often as the only tripod, because there will be many shots where you'll want something a little bit bigger. All of which brings me to an end of today's video. I really do hope that you have found it useful seeing this little insight into some of the gear that I use and the different techniques that I use with it. If this video has been helpful, do please make sure to hit that like button, consider subscribing to my channel if you don't already, and I will see you next time.